Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Rose Smith from Absolute Soul Secrets, and I have the Compassionate Cancer May horoscope. Firstly, I'm going to draw two cards as theme cards for the month for you, and then we'll have a look at your horoscope in depth. So let's go to the board now. Here it is. All right, here we go with the cards. So two cards for the first and second half of the month. What do I see? I'm out in space. I'm looking down on the earth. There's somebody here with a loudspeaker. So there's an element of frustration here because Spirit is trying to give a message, but so many people are not picking it up. And I would find it frustrating. Obviously, Spirit doesn't, because Spirit's the source of infinite patience, which I am not. But I would find it extremely frustrating because it's almost like there are some people that are picking up messages, but not enough people, not anywhere near enough. There's a lot of ego and people just getting on doing what they want to do without a care or a thought in the world for anybody else or for the environment, the animals, the planet herself. And this brings up a lot of other feelings as well as frustration, anger, disappointment, sadness for what's coming. In terms of you, dear Cancer, this is like an opportunity because you have some natural ability. Being ruled by the moon, you're more in touch with your emotions than many other signs. So if anybody can pick up messages from Spirit, if you pay attention, surely it would be you. Let's have a look and see what the cards say. The Tower card. This has been coming out a lot in, I don't know, last few months, let's say. It's basically saying that something's coming to an end, and it's a concept that you've built up in your mind. And if you've been paying attention, if you've got any sort of intuition or psychic ability at all, which you should have being a Cancerian, all factors being equal, there's something in the background that you must be feeling is coming to an end. Maybe there was some naivety or innocence there about a situation, and now it's like the veils are being lifted from your eyes. But in order for that to happen, this outdated concept has to go. So that's what's happening. You built a house, basically. You built a concept on shifting sands that are now shifting. I keep thinking about climate change. Climate change keeps coming up all the time while I'm talking about this. I know not everybody believes in climate change, but to me, I've been reading the IPCC report every 4 years since, I think it was 1995 or 1996. So it was only like the second or third one that came out when I started reading it. And pretty well what they said back there with 70% confidence is happening now. And so I feel like there's a big part of you that underneath knows what the story is, but maybe the logical part or your mind, your brain, is having difficulties coming to terms with a situation which is an ending. But a lot of people see this as a very negative card, and I don't, because it's an ending to something that needs to go so that something better can start. So I see it a bit like the Death card in the sense of a new beginning, this being wiped away so that a new beginning can start. It is a major arcana card. It can change your life. I think that ultimately it's for the better. So I wouldn't be taking, in May, I wouldn't be taking any unnecessary risks at the moment. I'd just be staying close to home and getting on and doing the normal sorts of things, the normal sorts of work, domestic tasks, gardening outside perhaps. But yes, that's how I would deal with this card, and also to feel all of the feelings that come up. Let's have a look in the second half of the month for you, caring Cancerians. A peg. A peg. Peg this. Take note of this. Maybe it's like a pin. Pin something. Attach this. It's like, pay attention. This is important. And that's all I can put to it, I think. If you've got any other possible symbolisms for pegs, let me know in the comments. I've got a feeling there's something else, though. Maybe it's somebody's name, Peg. It used to be a very old-fashioned name now. But yeah, I think it's sort of like people in the 50s, women in the 50s had the name Peg more often. The card that comes out is a Seven of Cups. So this is a very spiritual card, and it is about reaching out for spiritual attainment. And you are doing that. So there's all these cups, and they've all got different sort of things. That one's a mask, and there's like some sort of ghost from the past there. And I think that one's, yes, a baby dragon, all different sorts of things, angels' wings. And so when you're asking Spirit for help and reaching out to get somewhere, to evolve spiritually, yes, that will happen. And you see the subconscious here, the water in the background. So the subconscious waters might be a bit turbulent, a bit rough, but you can handle it with the moon as your ruler. The other way you can possibly interpret this card as well is saying no, having really firm boundaries, and saying no when, instead of just going along with somebody, just say no. It's easier. Don't let your imagination get the better of you. Things that go on down in your subconscious. When I was younger, I'd be having dreams or whatever about people or whatever, and then I'd get up in the middle of the night and send them an email, and oh my God, that was such a mistake. If there's such a thing. Don't do it. So in the middle of the night, things always look worse, and they're not necessarily the same as reality, as in physical reality. They have their own reality. I'm not denying that. They have their own reality, but that's just part of the picture. The subconscious is a very big place, and you might be focused in your dreams. You might be focused on just one part. It's not the full story. So keep on reaching and you'll get there. I think this is going to be quite a spiritual month for you, and you will see now, looking at your horoscope in depth, why. Let me make it a bit bigger for you. Okay, so over here in the 12th house, there's new planets going into your 12th house here, which is Gemini, the Sun, Venus and Jupiter. And so the focus is going to become more spiritual in May, and dealing with these subconscious contents. Yeah, if you have any dreams, even nightmares. I had a nightmare last night. It was bloody awful. And it was because I didn't wash up before I went to bed. Seriously, that was the reason. I figured it out this morning. I was just so tired, and I'd done so much work the last 3 days. I was just so tired. I thought, oh, I'll do it in the morning. And I should have bloody done it. So I had a dream about it, but it was really awful. So I would say, listen to your dreams. Don't let things go too far. Your dreams are trying to tell you something. So you'll see all of the planets, all of the activity are in the top half of the chart. So this is likely to come more into your mind. You're likely to figure things out. It's more in the public area of your life. It's actually, technically speaking, it's called the Southern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere is here. But anyway, let's not go there about getting too technical. The good thing is there's no aspects like aspect patterns to start the month. There are aspects there, of course. But I'll just talk about the main things. The new moon in Taurus on the 7th of the 5th, bringing new beginnings to your career. If you have a career, you may not. If you don't, it's to do with your public image, maybe social media, perhaps, your reputation, your status, that sort of thing. And also authority figures. So traditionally, this was the house of the mother, and mother was associated with it. But the 4th house was the house of the father. So not quite sure why. If anybody knows about astrology, please let me know. But yes, as a new moon, these days with the way the roles are, it could be mother or father. It could also be a boss, somebody that you work for. And so there's a fair bit of energy there. And there's like more energy over the next, I'm not sure when the north, when the nodes change sign again, but it must be about a year away, just off the top of my head without checking. So the next year or so, your focus is really probably going to be on your life direction, your career, getting out into the world more, and there's new beginnings around that in quite a physical way. So some real physical changes. You've got Mars there as well, and so that's really going to give you a lot of energy for those changes. The full moon's in Sagittarius down here on the 23rd. That's going to, sometimes it brings up a bit of turbulence, but it's also completion or culmination. So it could be in your normal everyday work routine, and that doesn't matter whether it's paid work or the work you might do, volunteer work, for example, but something's coming to a head. Basically, so you might have some changes there, and it could be a little bit rough or turbulent, or even if you're working volunteering or something like that, you might decide to leave, for example, or there are changes going on in that environment that you have to adjust to. It can also be your health and well-being. It's important that you don't do too much, don't get stressed if you can help it. Say don't. When you say don't get stressed, it's like, what's the first thing that happens? You get stressed. And so I would just be positively focused and hopeful and optimistic, and I wouldn't be taking on too much. If you're reading for people, for example, or you've got some control over your workflow, May probably isn't the best time to take on more work if you don't have to. We've got in Sagittarius, by the way, it's likely to be quite expansive, and you might be in mixed minds. You might feel like taking it on, but then you're not too sure. There's a hesitancy because your intuition is telling you not to. But in Sagittarius, because it's ruled by Jupiter, then you probably think, oh yeah, that'll be fine, I'll be able to manage, and then when it actually comes around, you find it hard to manage, or some scenario like that. So Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius on the 2nd. It will be retrograde until the 12th, I think it is, of October, and it'll be in Capricorn then. But Pluto in Aquarius up here, it's going to initially, certainly for May, it's going to stay in your 8th house there. And so this could mean the energy of transformation is internalized within. So this is really going to add to all of this subconscious content stuff going on over here, because Pluto is really stirring things up in the subconscious. But retrograde means it may not necessarily have a physical effect, but it's certainly got an inner effect, an emotional or mental effect of all of this energy being stirred up. It's like dredging the bottom of the ocean looking for sunken treasure, and sometimes you can find it too, but it does stir up all of the silt and makes things a bit cloudy. Pluto is the great transformer here in your house of shared resources. So the resources that you share with another, which could be career related or work related, because these houses here have got a work component to them, being maybe looked at, reviewed, reassessed, reflected upon, or perhaps even the question of intimacy. If you're not getting enough intimacy with another person, or perhaps the other person wants to be intimate and you don't, could also be the other side of the coin. So these things are likely to come up in Aquarius. It's likely that there's some innovation, so that's why I'm steering more towards work actually, or career. There's some innovation going on. You might find you have to cope with new policies, procedures, new software at work. Things are innovating and changing all the time, which is one of my pet hates. I like change, but one of my pet hates is when companies think that they just have to change for change's sake. They make these changes, but they're not necessarily better changes. It's like, I used to like the old way because of blah, blah, blah. And they're just innovating to try and outrun their competitors and say, oh, we've got this and we got that. But they're like if you've been with them, a company, for a long time, and then you see that they're making all these changes, they might not be necessarily better to the workflow. So that could also bring up a bit of frustration. Electricity, technology could also be involved as well in Aquarius. Sometimes Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and sometimes that can relate to things like earthquakes as well. But you'd need, if you're going to say there's going to be an earthquake, well, you'd need more than just one significator. You need at least 3 significators to make that statement with any degree of confidence. Or if you're clairsentient, you feel it in your body. Sometimes you can pick up the earthquake hours before, or even up to a day or two before it happens. I feel it in my gut sometimes. I had to try and turn it off. Took me a bit to turn it off, because New Zealand, across the ditch, across the way here, they were having some really bad, really big earthquakes that were killing people, and it was really upsetting my stomach. So I had to try and turn that faculty off, which I don't get it now. They had a big one recently and I didn't get it. So, but it's straight across from my home, 3 hours in the plane. Yeah, so if you're sensitive, you have to try and deal with these things somehow. All right, so Pluto is associated with all the deep and dark things like addiction, manipulation, abuse. If you've had any of that in your life, you might find that's coming up again and you're thinking about those memories. You can make a fresh decision. You don't have to stay stuck in that mindset of when that actually happened. You can never undo what happened, but you can make fresh decisions. Mercury is in Taurus on the 15th, and that's up here in your house of connections and groups. So there might be lots of communications with friends. Maybe you join a new group, you meet new people, it's quite social, and you've got quite a party going on there in your 11th house. So that makes me think that you could meet new people this month. Everything's quite friendly and things going along. And they could be unexpected meetings, or things happen that you didn't expect as well. And it's also your house of hopes and dreams. You may be talking about what your hopes and dreams for the future are. The Sun is in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, and Jupiter in Gemini. This party here that's going to happen in your subconscious, in this chart, you'll see those dash lines there. There's so much activity up here that they couldn't fit all the symbols in, all the glyphs in the one house. So they've made dash lines and made the 12th house smaller. Excuse me, this is equal house, so they should all be the same size, but because of practicalities they couldn't do it. So this little sliver here of Sun, Venus and Jupiter is where it's all happening. So like I mentioned before, this could be a really spiritual month for you. A lot of things coming up to deal with for your greater good. So you'll come out of this feeling much clearer, and also like the decks are cleared, and it's like you've cleaned up a lot of stuff, and this is opening up your future for new beginnings. Dear Cancer, this is a very long horoscope today. All right, have a fabulous month, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Leave a like and a comment and subscribe and be alive. That would be fabulous. Thank you so much. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.